Yo, I kind of ramble in this intro, so you can skip to the time code on screen if you want to get to the actual recap. You're welcome, I guess. Hello. At the beginning of mid-April, I was a fool. I was kind of a fool. I started watching, or rather listening, to the Overlord audiobooks channel, and at the time, I thought it was reasonable that I could get it done. If I started mid-April, I could get it done before June. What a fool I was. What a fool I was. And I think it's safe to say I didn't get it done before mid-April, and I'm actually just getting it done now, mid to late June. So this recap video is going to be only 5 days away from the actual first episode airing. Yeah, and the worst part is I've already been seeing other people releasing Overlord recaps, and I'm like, no, I planned this too late. But I've already gone too far. I don't care. If there's other videos just like it, whatever. I've already committed to this, so let's just go. Overlord Seasons 1 to 3, recap by me, Kazu Trash. Let's get into it. The year is 2138 AD, or I guess it was, because for all Suzuki Satoru, aka Momonga, knows, his old world doesn't exist anymore. His favorite DMMO RPG, Yggdrasil, which may as well have been a second life for him, was shutting down all of their servers permanently when midnight struck. After his farewell to Herohero, Momonga, the leader of Ainz Ul Gon, decided to stay until the last moments. After some reminiscing, the clock soon reached 12 o'clock. Yet, he wasn't back in his bedroom. His access to the command console was unavailable, as was his logout button. He was trapped in an unseen world alongside the many NPCs of Nazareth who are now almost scarily loyal to him. While viewing through a crystal monitor, Momonga witnesses the slain theocracy who were disguised as Baharuth Empire knights, murdering a bunch of helpless villagers. And he decides to take action and save the villagers from certain slaughter. The theocracy were attempting to lure out Gazov Stronov with this event, and they did. Gazov Stronov, the Riastai's kingdom's warrior captain, attempts to alone battle and defeats every one of the remaining slain theocracy's men. Unfortunately, he was unable to perform such a feat, so Momonga took the battle into his own hands. He alone was able to even defeat Dominion Authority, Negan's trump card which he believed only a select few beings of legend were capable of overcoming. Momonga captured Negan and his men from the Sunlight Scripture, and thus returned back to Nazareth and declared to the rest of the NPCs of his name change to Ainz Ul Gon. Now, Ainz hungered for information about this new world. To gather such information, Ainz disguised himself as a warrior by the name of Momen, with Narberl, one of the combat maids, also tagging along under the alias of Nabe. The two register as adventurers in Irantel. Shortly after a scuffle at the nearby inn, Ainz forfeited a potion as compensation for destroying Britta's, a female adventurer who was caught in the crossfire. And at last, it's time for our copper plates to seek a job. Momen, along with an iron-class adventuring team by the name of Swords of Darkness, procure a job of escorting Antheria Barrere, a rather popular potion brewer and herbalist. His mission was to gather supplies in the forest and make a stop at Karn village to visit his crush, Henry Emmett, whose parents and friends from the local village were slain during the attack. On their quest, Momen tames a beast of local legend, the wise king of the forest. Though in reality, it's simply an oversized Hungarian hamster, its strength was nearly equal to that of the Dark Warrior. They soon returned from their quest safely, but as Ainz was off registering his newfound pet in the guild, the Swords of Darkness were being brutally murdered by Clementine and Khaziit. Let's be honest though, mostly Clementine. The two kidnapped Antheria because of his ridiculously OP ability to use any magic item without any prior knowledge, training, or skill. Lizzie Barrere, in Disparity, hired Momen to rescue her grandson by sacrificing her entire being. And so, he and Nabe immediately took action. A striking Momen leapt over the graveyard's walls and sliced through the enemy army of undead this evil duo was creating. Upon reaching the heart of the cemetery, Narberl dealt with Khaziit and Clementine was easily murdered by Ainz via a long hug. Before they left, Ainz collected the Orb of Death, which was a sentient magic item used in Khaziit's ritual, and rescued Antheria. Thanks to their accomplishments today, Momen the Dark Warrior was now a mithril-ranked adventurer, and the news of his feats didn't take long to spread. Also, I mentioned Lizzie sacrificing her entire being, but in the end all Ainz had her do was relocate to Karn village with Antheria to research the replication of Yggdrasil potions. While this was happening, Sebas and Solution were undercover as a butler and a noble, in hopes of also gaining information. Acting at the same time as well, Shaltir, on a mission Ainz had directly given her to gather corpses, capture anyone capable of using martial arts or magic, was approaching the death-spreading brigade's HQ. It didn't take long for nearly their entire fighting force to be destroyed by a blood-frenzied Shaltir. Unfortunately, one member managed to escape, the group's strongest warrior, Brain Unglaus, the man who believed himself to be stronger than even Gazov Stronov. This meant she had failed to obey Ainz's orders to disallow any news of Nazarek's existence to escape. Next, the vampire was apprehended by Britta's adventuring team, who were all swiftly murdered besides Britta herself, along with a ranger who had already escaped as per their plan. The reason Britta was spared is because she possessed one of Ainz's potions, and Shaltir assumed Ainz was making connections and did not wish to ruin them. She summoned wolves to seek out Brain and the ranger, who were quickly killed somewhere in the forest. She rushed to the last known location of the summons and was met with yet another adventuring party. Though this team was on a whole other level. This was the Black Scripture, the strongest battalion the slain theocracy have at their disposal. Shaltir, who could not have normally been mind-controlled since she's a vampire, had just that happen to her thanks to what Ainz believes to be a world-class item. Speaking of Ainz, he returned back to Nazareth after news of Shaltir's apparent betrayal reached his non-existent ears. Here, he visited Albedo's sister, Negredo, to pinpoint Shaltir's location. Also, couldn't find a place to mention this before, but after the traumatizing event of witnessing her whole party be slaughtered, Britta understandably retired from being an adventurer and moved to Karn Village as head of their self-defense committee. After a quick meeting with some of the town's higher-ups and other mithril-ranked adventurers to address the quickly spreading news of an extremely powerful vampire attack, Momin volunteered to duel it one-on-one, and that's he did. Ainz attempted to use a super-tier spell to eliminate her mind control, but once it didn't work, he returned to Nazarek's treasury in a panic to attain some world-class items of his own, along with some more strong equipment. Before long, the battle against the strongest guardian began. The battle raged on, and exactly according to Ainz's plans, he clinched victory, eviscerated Shaltir, and soon revived her after sacrificing 500 million gold coins. After this feat, along with a few others, including defeating the Northern Goblin Alliance and a giant basilisk, the adventuring team titled Darkness soon became renowned nationwide upon receiving their adamantite plates. Next up, Ainz orders Cocytus to wage Nazarek's first war in this world against the tribe of lizardmen residing in the marshlands on the foothills of the nearby mountain range. To inform the lizardmen of their impending onslaughts, Nazarek unleashes a minion of Cloud to each of the lizardmen villages with a warning of their assault in a little over a week's time. Over the 8 days of preparations, Zaryusu, wielder of Frostpain, and Shasuryu, chief of the Green Claw, managed to unite their tribe together with the Smallfang, Razortail, Dragon Tusk, and Red-Eye tribes for the first time ever to pool their strength against the mighty foe that was awaiting them. On Zaryusu's journey, he meets a female lizardman named Crush, who doesn't take long to fall for him, and before long we have— whoa, hey! I can't show that on YouTube. I think. I probably would be able to, there's no— along with a mighty warrior and chief of Dragon Tusk by the name of Zamberu. Now, I mentioned Cocytus' involvement with this fight, yet he was but a commander in this war. Ainz ordered Cocytus to dominate the battlefield, utilizing the army of undead to their fullest potential without stepping foot on the marsh himself. Because of the lizardmen's superior tactics and, well, Cocytus' lack thereof, the demi-humans just barely claimed victory, but their celebration didn't last long. Less than 24 hours, in fact. The next day, the great underground tomb of Nazarek ostentatiously displayed their might to the lower lizardmen, and the Supreme One himself issued a warning of their subsequent attack in 4 hours. This time, Cocytus was ordered to, in direct contrast to the earlier war, duel their army by himself. 4 hours did not take long to elapse, and soon enough, Cocytus had emerged from the surrounding forest and declared himself. After a futilely fought battle, the lizardmen were, of course, defeated, leaving every one of their tribal leaders, besides Crush, utterly butchered. Later, Ainz makes a pact with Crush for her to inform him of any insubordination festering in the lizardman community, in exchange for Zaryusu's revival, and perhaps the other chiefs as well. After being utterly outmatched by Shaltir to the point of inducing trauma, Brain Unglaus fled to the royal capital of Riastes in hopes of never having to gaze upon that monster ever again. Here, now eerily close to suicide, he, by happen chance, met Gazov Stronov, his once-was rival and entire reason for seeking great strength in the first place. Gazov rescued this sad state of a warrior and let him lodge at his house for the time being. This city just so happened to be the same one that Sebas and Solution had been gathering information in. One night, during one of his reconnaissance jogs, Sebas rescued a woman only a sliver away from death after being thrown out of a brothel. At least that's what it was on the outside. Underneath the main floor was a basement housing slaves for men to sate their twisted desires. This was one of the many bases of the Eight Fingers, a criminal syndicate plaguing the capital. Sebas promptly carries the woman home and, to Solution's annoyance, is ordered to heal a lowly human who revealed herself to be named Tuare. Upon waking, the traumatized girl over the next few days slowly warms up to Sebas and develops an attraction to him. Before long, his actions were revealed to have had a dire repercussion: the Eight Fingers' displeasure. A member of said organization invades his home and demands an exorbitant amount of cash, 500 gold coins, for kidnapping Tuare, and they give him a day to retrieve the cash. With the time given, Sebas, along with Climb and Brain, who he met and displayed his great power to shortly after the Eight Fingers' demands, together raid the location Tuare was initially discovered. Sebas and company make quick work of them, and the trio bid each other farewell. Oh, by the way, after this event, like Climb, Brain decided to work as a warrior for the Golden Princess. During this time, Solution messages Ainz and informs him of Sebas' suspected betrayal, thanks to his refusal to inform their ruler of Tuare's existence, since, as we know, withholding information from the Supreme One is a fatal error. Upon arriving back, Ainz and a few others had gathered to apprehend the suspected traitor. Sebas, to prove Demiurge and Solution wrong, displays his loyalty by nearly beheading Tuare with a deadly blow, before it was intercepted by Cocytus. After some debate with those present, Ainz eventually gave in to Sebas' plea to let Tuare become a member of the Human Maze, because of his discovery that she was, in fact, Nina from the Swords of Darkness' sister, and desired to repay the debts he owed her. Only thing is, Tuare was kidnapped back by the Eight Fingers during a preparation to disembark from the capital. In response, Ainz decides to unleash an all-out assault regarding anything to do with the Eight Fingers for disrespecting the name of Ainz Ul Gond. At the same time, very coincidentally, the capital was also planning a raid on every base of the Eight Fingers. Of their forces, half of Blue Rose, one of the Adamantite-class adventuring teams of Riastais, was in charge of subjugating Hilma, the head of the drug production division of Eight Fingers. Here, only because of a misunderstanding really, Entoma battled with Evil Eye Gagarin and Tina, which resulted in, on top of Entoma losing the lip bug granting her the human voice she usually takes on, she was straight up almost murdered right then and there. Yet the demon Yaldabaoth, Demiurge, intercepted the finishing blow, and Moment of Darkness took the exhausted Evil Eye's place in the battle, which ended in a draw for now. Yaldabaoth fled the location in search of a magical item able to subjugate the demonic race, which had found its way into the capital. Of course, this item doesn't actually exist, and is just a small piece of Demiurge's master plan towards world domination. Oh yeah, and Evil Eye, the former vampire lord once known as Landfall, also now has a huge crush on Moment for saving her. While this was happening, Hilma had already been taken away to Kyohoku, who tortured her until the Eight Fingers meeting place was revealed. After figuring that out, the Dark Elf twins had declared their rule over the Eight Fingers and had successfully secured complete control over the Riastais Kingdom's underworld. Also, meanwhile, Sebas easily swept the floor with every member of the Eight Fingers' infamous security division and rescued Tuare in the process. Not long after, the event, which later became known as the demonic disturbance, began. Walls of fire, 30 meters high, erupted in the northeast corner of Riastais, created by Yaldabaoth. To combat this, the Golden Princess and Marquis Raven, a noble, devised a plan of attack and mobilized many soldiers and adventurers, one team being Darkness. Before they could send out the main forces, a vanguard, or rather a special rescue unit, needed to be sent out. This unit consisted of the princess's personal knight, Climb, and a thief who aided the former two in a raid against the Eight Fingers, Lockmire. These three managed to save about half of the Flaming Gulf sector of the capital, but the other half had gone missing. In reality, they were teleported back to Nazareth and were mostly all slain. Soon after the surviving hostages were secured, Momon, Nabe, and Evil Eye battled Yaldabaoth and his combat maids to a standstill, until the demon acknowledged he wouldn't be able to beat Momon and enacted an agreement to a ceasefire. Darkness was outstandingly victorious and were hailed as heroes for their great accomplishments that day, with the kingdom now able to be at peace once more. Back to the now very fortified Karn, the goblins summoned from Ainz's gift to Enri appear to be fitting in with the village quite well. Along with them, ogres have taken residence in the village too, and Enferia's potion research has been yielding great results, as he's managed to create a purple potion. Not quite red, but it's certainly on the way. Oh, and Enri took the reins as village chief before their village was attacked by trolls and ogres, which they succeeded in defending against. Alright, Baharuth Empire time. In the Empire exist workers, like adventurers, but they take jobs not from the Adventurers Guild, so they get a lot of dirty, under-the-table work. One of these worker teams, Foresight, along with a few others, were requested to raid a newly found tomb. Of course, this is Nazarick. Darkness were also requested as bodyguards for the workers to and from the tomb. Once they arrived, Ainz swapped with Pandora's actor, dealt with the intruders by killing or throwing them in a torture chamber, and then bid farewell to Mare and Aura, who were tasked with demanding an apology from the Emperor Jerknif Rune Farlord El Nix for sending workers into their home. Oh, also before we move on, Arshe, one of the members of Foresight, had her voice taken by Antoma. Also, Albedo successfully convinced Ainz to give her permission in using Pandora's actor, Rubedo, and other high-level vassals as she sees fit for the creation of a secret unit. This unit's purpose being to personally seek out the other supreme being so information can no longer be falsified like what happened during Foresight's desperation to survive. After a few days' time, the Emperor's convoy swiftly arrived at Nazarick, and the Emperor's apology was finalized in no time. After that, El Nix managed to form an alliance with Gon, and the Baharuth men soon began their trek back to the Empire. Just one thing though, the Emperor's right-hand man, Fluter Paradine, is well known as the world's most powerful human magic caster, as well as making it his life's goal to stare into the abyss of magic, as he puts it. His quest for magic has even granted him the capabilities to cast 6-tier spells. Yet he leaves Ainz's tomb without so much as a bit of interest towards Ainz's superior casting ability, almost as if he's seen it before, which he has. After witnessing the great power of Ainz, Fluter betrayed the Empire and is working behind the scenes for Nazarick's benefit. Because of this, El Nix decides the only possible way to end Ainz Ul Gon's soon-to-be domination is to gather a grand coalition, including the Baharuth Empire, the Riestize Kingdom, the Slain Theocracy, the Council States, and the Holy Kingdom. Before that, though, a declaration of war was made against the kingdom, claiming Irantel and the area surrounding Nazarick is under Gon's domain, and the Empire will not hesitate to assist him in reclaiming his rightful land. Lord Barbaro, the first in line to become the next king, was ordered to question the villagers of Karn about any useful information about Ainz. Only when he got there, the villagers wouldn't open the gate. This eventually escalated to a large-scale battle, ending in Enri requiring to use the Horn of the Goblin General to summon an absolute army of goblins, and Barbaro and his thousands of men were quickly wiped out. Back on the main stage of Cat's Plains, the battle, or I guess I should say the slaughter, Ainz portrays his overwhelming might in the form of a super tier spell, which summons giant monsters named the Dark Young. The monsters trample the kingdom's soldiers in a thirst for death, and more death. Eventually, Ainz enters the battlefield atop one where he meets Gazif Stronov. Gazif requests a one-on-one duel with Ainz, to which he accepts, and well, who would have guessed it, it's an overwhelming win for our Sorcerer King as Gazif collapses like a puppet whose strings had been cut. Because of Gazif's valiant display, Ainz retires the Dark Young from the battlefield. Forced into a corner, the kingdom relinquishes Irantel and its surroundings to the Sorcerer Kingdom, as well as gain Moment of Darkness into their ranks to act as security for the city. This fact gave Irantel's denizens peace of mind, knowing a selfless warrior like himself would be protecting them. And it lends credence to the fact that the city was still safe, or perhaps even safer than it's ever been under the new reign. And lastly, this should be a given, but I'll just say it anyway, every tiny detail here was Demiurge's precise planning. Not so much Ainz's, as the Floor Guardians would like to believe. And that's, my friends, should hopefully catch you up on the events of Seasons 1 to 3. I'll see you in the next video, if you stay around. Hopefully you do. I make Gintama stuff, and I am looking into doing some more Pokemon stuff. I'm not sure yet, so we will see. We will see. And, of course, random content like this. Also, I'll definitely be doing reactions to Season 4 on the second channel, which you should be seeing on screen right here under Kazu2. Check it out. I'm reacting to Spy Flamer right now, so if you're into that, then give me a watch. Anyway, guys, see you later. Have a good one. Peace.